I'm live for Lunch and Learn. I am Janice, the Retail Genius, your host. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so excited. I'm bringing on another little co-host or whatever today. One of my clients, I'm going to bring her to the stage, Jamicia, owner of Eloure Beauty Supply. Welcome.
Hello. Happy to be
Hello.
here.
First of all, we have Jamicia in the building from
Duval, Jacksonville, Florida.
Yay. Okay. So, Miss Jamicia, wow. You're a newer client of mine. I
Mhm.
feel like your store has been open for a little bit over a year, maybe almost 2 years.
Yeah,
Where are we at
about
now?
a year and a half. Yep, a year and a
A year
half.
and a half. Okay, cool. So it's a year and a half out in Jacksonville, Florida, which that was a really nice trip. So let's talk about your journey into this space. Like I like to ask people like what was your aha moment of like, oh, I want to open a beauty supply store.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Definitely not something I ever had on my life bingo card for sure. But I will say when we moved into our where we currently live in Jacksonville, we moved about almost 5 years ago now. And in the area that we moved to, I very quickly realized that there was not access to a beauty supply store. You would have to drive at least about 15-20 minutes. And that's like no traffic. Jacksonville can go crazy sometimes. So it was just very out of the way for me to get to the beauty supply store. And so for myself, as somebody who, I like to do my hair and I have two daughters as well. So, trying to do their hair, it was just, if I don't have to go over there, I don't want to. And so
Mhm.
it was really inconvenient. And so just thinking about that, I think that's what initially like placed it in my heart, like, it might be interesting to have something on our side of town. But then I think with that, I just started to kind of like reflect back just on my life journey of, we all spent so much of our lives at the beauty supply store growing up. And just thinking about my experiences, my friends and family, I was like, we could really create something here that not only offers convenience because we do need something on this side of town, but we can also create an experience that we don't currently have. And so that was really when like my wheels started turning and I was like, okay, how do I make this happen? I need to get started. And after that, I was like locked in. And here we are a year and a half later.
That's awesome. So one thing that stands out with me, is I feel like we were pregnant maybe at the same time. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But because I'm always pregnant. Y'all have like 5 kids. So I was either just had a baby or I was pregnant.
Yeah.
It's always one of the two with some of my clients. So my baby just turned 2
Okay.
last month.
Okay. Yep.
And I feel like when you were in your journey, you had a baby too.
I did. I was pregnant I think when we first started your program, we started your program January 2022. And yeah, I had just found out maybe that month that I was pregnant because my daughter turned 2 in September. So it was very much like navigating, having a toddler, being pregnant, working a 9 to 5, trying to build this store and do all the things that, we as women do. So it was definitely a process for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I was like in between because I got a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. So
Yeah. Yep.
talk to the women who are currently moms and maybe thinking that this is a huge undertaking with children and work, and you obviously did it all. So what was that like?
Yeah, and I will be honest, it is a huge undertaking. I think you really have to have a lot of discipline. You have to probably be very organized. And I really think having the village, I think for us, we were so blessed to have people
Mhm.
around us that could help support us and understood what we were trying to build for ourselves and for our growing family. And I think that allowed us the flexibility to allow me, especially as the mother, and to have that flexibility to have those late nights, have those meetings, do all the things that I was doing, but still feel like my family was taken care of. So I do
Mhm.
think having that village really helps. But again, it's one of those things you have to just be locked in. You have to have your vision, setting those goals, making those like very small, attainable goals because it's overwhelming when you look at the grand scheme of things trying to open a beauty supply store, especially when you have a family and you're working and you're doing all the things. So I
Mhm.
definitely think for me, having those small attainable goals made me feel like, okay, I'm making progress, I'm getting there versus it's been 5 months and I haven't done anything, which I think can, cause you to be discouraged. So I think having those attainable goals in that village really is key for making it happen.
Yes, y'all. The village is really important. So, what y'all also don't know about Jamicia, she is one
Mhm.
of the two, right? So, there's a partnership there. And so, there also are a lot of women who have husbands,
Mhm.
and their husbands aren't all the way like into it the way Demetrius was. And Demetrius is not here, but Demetrius was like literally on the call. He was very involved, even though y'all don't see him. He was very, very
Yeah.
involved. So talk about that.
Yeah.
Like you as a woman having a vision or a dream, and then you're married, and then so you have to get your partner like kind of dialed in. Like,
Mhm.
what was that process like? And how were you so successful again, Demetrius, on those calls? Because he was probably one of the first, very few husbands ever been on call.
But
Shouts
listen,
out to
Janice,
Demetrius,
yeah,
by the
yeah,
way.
shout out. I say my man, my man, my man. Okay, like yes, listen. I think when I first told him, I do believe he was like, "Girl, okay, like okay." And like I said, it was about a year before I really got serious about it, and it just stayed on my spirit. And I was like, babe, like this is still like on me. Like I really think we need to do this. And so I laid out a plan. I think at that point I had already discovered you. I had done like some research, so I had my presentation together, like when I went to
Yes.
him to talk about it. So I was prepared, and I had answers to his questions because I know my husband. He's an accountant, like he needs the facts. So you gotta know your man,
Hey,
but
period.
like so I knew he would want these things, and I'm the kind of person too. Like I need to have a plan, and so I did the research, and I was like, babe, like I think we can make this work, and I think he saw I was for real, and he is very supportive. And I think from that point on he was like, okay, like what do we need to do to make this happen, and how can I help? And so with him being like a numbers guy, like very analytical minded, me being more of like I understand the hair part of it, I understand like the trends and like the women, the consumer aspect of it. It was like really the perfect partnership for us and for what we were trying to accomplish.
Awesome. Love that. Yes. You have to get the presentation together,
Gotta have that
ladies.
presentation, ladies. Have the
Just gotta have
presentation.
gotta have everything
And then present
together.
it after you made him a nice meal or something like
Period.
that. You got to do all the things.
All the things. So, okay, so once he was on board, and then so like walk us through the next steps, building out this beautiful store to, a year and a half,
Yeah.
and you guys are still obviously in business.
Yeah. So yeah, the next steps were definitely a journey. Like I said, we started your program January 2022 and we opened our store September 2023. So I think for us, it was just trying to figure out what we wanted the store to be. And I think it was really important to us that we knew the vision that we had for Allure before we really did anything. But then the biggest part of our process too was finding a location. There was not a lot of
Mhm.
commercial spaces available at that time in Jacksonville for what we were trying to do and for the area that we were trying to stay in as well. So that did lengthen our journey quite a bit. And then once we did finally find a location and get everything squared away, our build out took a little bit longer than what we anticipated initially. There's just so many things you have to go through as far as like with the city. So depending on where you live, that can really play a role, in getting things done quickly or not timely. And then like our contractor we had. So all of those things, definitely played a role. But we opened our store September 2023. Then we had our official grand opening November of 2023. And it's continued to be a journey. Every day is a journey. And so we're always learning, growing, really just trying to elevate Allure to the level that we know it can and will be. And we're just continuing to, press on, understand our community, understand what they want, listen to them. And that's how we really built our store over the last year. When we opened, and I go back and look at the photos like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
we didn't have a lot in there, but we really wanted to build our store for our community and really have the things that they wanted. And so it took some time, but if you look at our store from when we first started to now, you can
Mhm.
see the growth and you can see the difference. But we continue to add things, continue to listen to the voices that come to our store, and we'll continue to do that going forward as well. So that's kind of been our journey, up to this year. And it's highs and lows, but I feel like if it's something that you're passionate about and you want it to succeed, you learn how to, take the punches and keep it moving. So
Yes. Yes, I love that. So I know you were in the corporate space. Are you still like juggling both, going back and forth? Like, what does the operational side look like right now?
Yeah, I do still work full time, so I am still in a corporate setting, which also requires me to travel quite a bit. So I do
Oh,
that
wow.
again. My man, he holds us down. So he does a lot. Operational, he is in the store pretty much most of the week, and we do have two employees who also help, lessen that burden for him. But so I'm a lot of times I'm behind the scene working on like orders or doing things. I'm not physically at the store every single day, but he is there more often than not. And then we also do have employees to keep things running smoothly. So we make it work.
Awesome. Which is really cool because we had Nella on last night and she was talking about she's not at the store, period.
Mhm.
And has a team and how the team shows up like it's their store, and that's how she's like able to make it work. So how has that been with team with you with hiring people and trying to like really have people show up within the culture that you created for the business?
Yeah, people are so important. Like who you hire really can make or break your store for sure. And you have to have people who,
Yeah.
who have really bought into the vision and the mission of your store and understand where you are as a business, as a very small business. Like, we can't compete with certain things. Like this is where we are. And you have to have
Mhm.
people that are okay with that and that they are there to build and grow with you and they want to see your business succeed because they come to work with a different type of attitude, than somebody who is just there to collect a paycheck. And so you really have to be mindful of who you hire. And we do try to really create a family atmosphere. Like our, very small employee team, like that's our family. And they know
Mhm.
that and we know that. And so I think that permeates throughout our store and everything that we do and how they interact with our customers, how they care for our store and they bring things to our attention that maybe we're missing. So it really
Mhm.
is a group effort. And, you really want to take the time to hire really good quality people who can
Mhm.
add value to your store and that will also help you succeed.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
One other thing that I really loved about you guys is that you are a woman of faith, which I always appreciate as a woman of faith.
Mhm.
So, talk a little bit about the mindset shift that has to take place when you are a woman of faith and you're coming from the corporate world, which is steady money, steady paycheck. And then you're going into business. And, I saw an Instagram thing where it's like 1 week you make like $5, another week you make like $10,000. Like it's just
Yeah.
so crazy, which is just what it is.
Yeah.
So talk to the people of faith
Yeah.
about what that mindset shift needs to be when you're actually coming into not just any business, but
Right.
like beauty supply business where, we got a
Yeah.
few things stacked up again.
I
Already.
think, yeah, coming into the beauty supply industry, I mean, you have to have crazy faith. When I'm talking about
Mhm.
like dancing like David, like just crazy out of this world, like mustard seed kind of faith, because it is a very up and down business to your point. And there's so many external factors that play a role in this industry in particular. When you talk about faith, it's so funny because now with like these tariffs and everything that are happening, I was like, we're definitely going into a season where we are like just, we've been praying extra heavy, like, okay, God, like show us the vision, show us what we need to do to sustain for what we don't know what the future holds with our political climate and everything that's happening. So you really have to almost be insane and just really believe in what you feel like you were called to do. And I think you do have to probably have a calling for it. I will tell people all the time, it's not a get rich quick industry because it's a very difficult industry. So you have to really have that passion and have that faith and really lean into that on those days where it's like, oh my God, we didn't make what we needed to make this today. We didn't make what we needed to make yesterday. Like, okay, the rent due, like what are we gonna do? So, you
Mhm.
definitely have to lean into that and really just like have that prayer again, that village, those prayer warriors, have your own like just prayer relationship with God and just really lean into that and do what you can. So that's really what we do. My husband, sometimes we fast or do things just to
Mm.
connect to be more centered, because we ultimately we can only control what we can control, but we have that faith that if we continue to sow good works and good deeds into what we're doing into our community, that we'll receive that back tenfold and be successful.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. So, okay, so now you're here over a year, almost 2 years. what would you tell the people about this industry and this business? Someone who's on the sidelines. Obviously, everyone that's on my page are on the sidelines.
Yeah. I think honestly it goes back to that. Do you feel a calling? Do you feel compelled? Because that was my whole thing. Like it was on my heart for a year before I ever actually
Yeah.
moved on it. And it just would not leave me. So I think, you have to really be passionate about it. I think it can be so much fun, but you have to also understand that with the fun also comes the hard times and be prepared to persevere and do what you have to do to succeed. But I think a really interesting industry, if you love all things beauty, it's a really great industry. I think, Janice, you obviously give the tools and things necessary, especially when you don't know where to go to get started. Like it's such a monster of a task if you have no foundation or know where to go. So I definitely think if they just want to know more information, want to know how to get started, your services were really helpful for us in getting us to this point where we are today. So I tell them, hey, check it out. Sometimes you don't know until you try, and it's always worth giving it a try. So you would hate to have that regret in the end, having not ever done it, because you just never know where life will take you. So
Yes. And one thing that I always love to mention is the level of community impact that a Black-owned beauty supply store has, that you just really don't even realize the level of impact that you have until you actually open a store, and then you get people to come in who are just like so grateful that you're there, and they think like this is like the second coming. Like,
yeah.
I can't believe this.
We definitely get a lot of,
Black-owned.
this is your store, you own this. Like, yeah, we do. It's possible, with a lot of hard work, you can make it happen. So, you just have to go after it if it's something that you really feel, compelled to do. So
Yes. So, last words for anyone who is on the sidelines. Why should they join the summit and hear you guys? Hopefully, Demetrius is there. Hear you guys talk about your journey.
yeah. Honestly, I think it's the industry that needs more representation, and the more Black-owned beauty supply stores that we can open, I think it only increases all of our efforts and our presence, and it's really needed. So I think, if we can open these up across the nation, like, hey, let's do that. We are the number one consumers of these products, so why not us? If not us, then who? So definitely come pick up the gems, at least get the foundation, get an understanding of what it looks like, what it could take, and it really is get the things that you need to know if this is something that you want to pursue. At least at that point, you have somewhere to start and you have some type of information, and you can make your decision based on that. But I definitely think it's worth looking into and just making it happen, because it is very much worth it. And like you said, people come in and congratulate us and tell us how proud they are. But like, it really does make the hard days very much worth it, and really makes us keep pushing to keep striving to make Allure a international, brand.
Yes. Come on, international. I love that. I love that. We are so grateful and thankful to you, Jamicia. We absolutely love you guys.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm
Thank you.
incredibly proud of you guys. Thank you so much
You're
for
so
coming,
welcome.
y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good one.